Hi, it's Sarah SMUTNY, your host of the Simply Balanced podcast. I'm super happy that you're listening in today. And here in this podcast, we are going to go deep on gut health, anti-inflammatory living, spirituality, self-care, and so much more.
Hi, Friederike. So nice to see you. I'm super excited to finally have you on my podcast. It was a long time that I was always thinking I have to interview her, and finally you're there. So, to introduce myself in our podcast, it's Slow and Dine Living. It's all about spiritual living, about being in alignment with yourself. Of course, also wholesome eating, but it's also a lot about what we are nourishing ourselves with outside of our plate. So that's why I interview on my podcast lots of inspiring people from the holistic world. And today it's Friederike, who's working with the voice. She's working with spirituality. And actually, to be honest, I'm very curious myself to understand deeply what she's doing. So that's why she's here. Tell us a little bit, who is Friederike?
Thank you, first of all, for your welcome and for your invitation on your podcast. That's a really big question because I am the person who's sitting in front of you, some soul who chose to incarnate on this funny planet. It's really difficult for me to answer this question because last year, to tell you a story, I had a complete breakdown of my whole world where nothing seemed to be working anymore, where I was asking myself exactly that question. I'm like, who actually am I? Am I actually a singer? Am I actually a coach? Am I actually a friend? Am I actually why? If nothing is working, then who am I? And eventually I came to the conclusion and to the realization that it's all labels. I can give you labels. I am a classically trained singer. I work as a singer and a coach in healing and voice activation. I'll tell you more about that. And in the end, I am energy. If I meet a person on the street and I say hello, they don't know anything about me, but they will feel how I make them feel. Yeah. And that energy is always there, regardless of what I do or what I claim to do at any given moment.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful explanation. Yeah. And it's funny, I can really relate to this because I had a similar phase beginning of this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think it's important to have these phases as well. It's very important. And it's normally, I wish it wasn't. After this, you get kind of a huge growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we can call it plateau phase.
I don't know. It's also a deep dive in a way to your real essence.
Yeah.
Because then if you are less attached to labels of like, I have to be this or I have to be that, I represent myself as this, like with all these roles that we play in life, then things become so much easier because there's less like grasping and clinging to certain things or results, things that we want to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. And then you also follow much more your inner calling instead of thinking like, oh, wait, I wrote and I on my visit card that I'm this and this. So you just say, oh, I feel like this. Yeah.
I'll tell you a secret. That's so funny you're bringing this up. I haven't had any business cards in years because I'm always like, I'm constantly evolving. I don't know what to put on these business cards.
Yeah.
Even though now it would be time for me now to actually print some new ones. It's good that you're reminding me. But yeah.
Don't do too many because it might be different in some months.
Exactly. And then you have like a stack of 1,000 business cards.
Yeah. So on your on your page, I found this sentence: trauma meets vocal coaching. So what does it actually mean? Like, what exactly do you do in this fusion?
Yeah, okay. So first of all, it is a fusion of two worlds that I live in or used to live in separately. which is singing and coaching. So in my coaching, it's actually deeply healing. I come from a background of emotional trauma integration, where you really go very deeply into the emotions that you haven't allowed yourself to feel, where some really dark memories can come up, where I really help people to overcome heavy shit. And then I'm also a classically trained singer. I've performed on stage, and I also gave voice lessons. And I realized somehow my voice lessons are always more than just voice lessons, because I cannot deny this other part of me who is a healer. Of course. And the thing is, the voice is connected to your whole body, to everything. Like, to me, the voice is a mirror of your soul. I think we like to say this about the eyes, and I like to say this about the voice as well. Why is it that some people have voices where you're like, I can't listen to this person? It feels so constricted, for example. Or other people make you feel really comfortable, regardless of whether it's a low male voice that we all like so much, or if it's a light voice, it's just a certain comfort.
Yeah.
Me, it's the more you are connected with everything in yourself, the beauty and the pain, the freer the voice. And I can give you an example from actually a session that I facilitated today, where we were doing some toning exercises. So basically just chanting any note that wants to come out and letting it resonate in the body. And we found that with my client, there was a place in her body that she couldn't reach somehow. She's like, everything else I feel, but this one I cannot feel. So we talked a little bit about it, what specific part of that body what it was, and it was connected to sexuality and sensuality. And turns out that there were some quite traumatic experiences for her where there was also a lot of shame. And it was where maybe she hadn't put up the boundaries and communicated the boundaries that she actually had. And that's why the sound didn't reach there. It was disconnected.
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually having goosebumps as I'm because it was so intense and so beautiful to see, like, after we let these emotions come up a little bit, and let her express that which she had carried with herself for a while. After that, it was like, oh, now this feels more connected. And the thing is, the voice is so honest and so pure. Yeah, you can modify your voice if you know how to, but in general, it's very honest and very pure, and it doesn't lie. So when you work with the voice, it automatically facilitates change and healing in your body. And for me, the beauty is that because I have this background in working with emotions and hypnosis and meditation and all the energy work, I now combine it, and I don't offer this one thing or that other thing anymore. But it's like, no, we do both.
But so also, if let's say I would come into your coaching, would you also make me sing? So although it's not my main focus to improve my voice, let's say.
Yes, if that is what you want. Like, I don't force anyone, but yes, because it's so beautiful. You get to work with the voice. You get to feel where it resonates in your body or how you breathe. And I just see even people that I've worked with just, quote unquote, just with singing and singing lessons, that they start changing things in their life, or that they start actually expressing voice more outward, or that they stand in their truth more.
That's it, yeah.
And the same happens with the coaching. So I'm like, why would I offer two of those? Like, I can offer it as a one package, because so many people, isn't it in the end about always expressing who we truly are. That's what makes us happy. That's what makes us unique.
Yeah.
And
I guess, then you can also speak up more for yourself once you because, and say, to give an example, if I would make this coaching with you and I would have to sing in front of you, which is always kind of a hurdle. Do you say that in English? Yeah.
Obstacle.
So, by going out of this comfort zone and opening up, this would also help me, like, to give an example, I guess, like, even in other situations,
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah. It's really powerful.
Yeah. It's really, really beautiful. And like people can't see you now, but you just made this gesture, moved your arms outward and you became bigger. And it's like, yeah, exactly. Like that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I guess you also work a bit on the posture as well, no? Or not at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the main focus, but when you work with singing really and singing technique, you cannot do that hunched over.
Yeah.
Or you have to be a super professional to be able to find the alignment even in the hunched over position. But in general, you want to be kind of straight and supported. And I just have this realization as we're speaking, like stand in your truth. It so relates to the posture that you have when you learn singing. Like you stand on your 2 feet, you are strong, you're supported, nobody's going to push you over.
Grounded.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful.
But now, speaking of what you just said, aligned, do you think that you are also spiritually aligned? Because you also wrote that on your page.
Yeah, what I mean by alignment is, are your actions, your behaviors, your communication in congruency with your values and with the way that you actually want to live and express yourself. This alignment is a big word in the spiritual community. That's why I'm being a little bit careful now, because often what we refer to as like being aligned, receiving some higher spirits or something, which sometimes that happens to me, but that's not the main focus. And I would say that I strive to act in alignment with my heart and my values most of the time. I'm not successful all the time. My body will tell me if I'm not, or my energy level will tell me if I'm not.
That's it. Yeah.
And my eating habits will tell me if I'm not. But in general, yes, it's a growth process for all of us, right? Because the what's the word? The prerequisite, so what you need in order to be aligned or express yourself in alignment with your heart and your core and your values, is you need to be in touch with them.
Yeah.
And
what are your values?
Yeah, and admit to them.
Yeah, and commit to them also.
And commit to them, yes.
Yeah. Because what comes in my mind when I hear that is also the sentence "walk the talk."
Yeah.
Doing what you're also standing for, because often we have these values, but we don't live them at all.
Yeah.
And that's when we feel unaligned. Yeah.
And what I witness also is that when you are in this field of expansion of personal growth, be that, spiritually or some other personal development tools, it's all the same. You cannot be not spiritual. But when you are in this field or in this phase of life, now I lost my train of thought. What often happens is we look to other people that embody something that we want, right? That's why people come to me for coaching, because I embody something that they want to learn. That's why people come to you, because they want something that you embody.
Yeah.
But there comes a point where there's a fine line where you need to figure out whether you are taking over somebody else's ideals And I see that a lot in this community where we all want to grow and expand. Things like you need to be making a lot of money, or you need to be able to travel where you want all the time. Things like you need to be able to work from home. You need to be, I don't know, like all these things. They're great if you really want them. But what if your truth is different?
Yeah. Maybe you like to go to the office or have your colleagues and you know what I mean? Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, it's hard to always work from home. Sometimes it would be nice to just go somewhere, close the door, leave that place, and come to a place where you just live and don't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's always two sides to the coin. And that's very important to me, to always see that there's another human being with their very own path that's not mine.
Yeah.
I can teach them something, hopefully, but then they need to walk their talk.
Yeah. Yeah. And not trying to überstülpen, you say.
Yeah.
Impose. Yeah, impose that, like your values and, that they get all copies of you, let's say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you think, like, should everybody sing more?
Absolutely.
I'm asking myself if singing has such a, an impact on our body. I read also once an article about what it all does for the serotonin level, for the stress reduction, all kind of physiological effects.
Yeah.
And the things you just said, it makes me think like everybody should sing much more.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I read a book recently on humming, and only 5 minutes of humming a day can already do all those things that you said, increase your serotonin, reduce cortisol, lower your heart rate, all these things. I guess what just came to me is singing sounds already like a dangerous territory for a lot of people, because it's like, now I have to stand there and sing a song. Like, how about starting with making sounds? Sounds like or whatever sound that is. Like, you have to pay attention to, in your daily life, where you have something in your mind or in your ear that you would like to say, or a sound that you would like to make, or even something like, yay, like being really excited, like excitement. We hide our excitement because it's like, I cannot be excited. I have to be like happy, but I have to be quiet while being happy. Oh my God, this is so great. It's ridiculous. Even though, like, if you were on a train and you would just like start screaming of joy, some people will look at you funny, but most people will actually start smiling, I guess. Because
the right ones, which are aligned with me, would start smiling, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a raw, joyful energy that you just let out.
Like kids.
Exactly.
Such a good inspiration, because they don't give a shit, honestly, to say what other people are saying. They don't even, it's not in their thought, not at all. They just express.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a big insight for me as well a while ago, when I was like, hey, my voice is not the way that it used to be. What's going on? And I noticed, in order to not disturb the neighbors or not disturb my roommates, whoever, I was keeping in a lot of the song and the melodies that were playing inside of me that I would have normally just expressed outward.
And how did you solve this then?
I just started doing it again.
Okay.
And I mean, so it's not like, fuck it, what everybody else is thinking. If my partner wants to work, I'm just going to sing some opera next door. Like, no, you like, you still want to be respectful, of course. But only to have that awareness, even when, like, how much you are keeping in. And on the other hand, what I always like to say in combination with this, what kind of things are you saying that we're expressing outward that actually either you could keep for yourself or the timing is off? And what I mean by that is, okay, how to articulate this so that everyone can follow me. With social media, I feel like we live in a world where everybody is expressing and showing a lot of stuff all the time that is actually irrelevant. Or it's something that we do in order to receive some sort of reaction, some sort of mirroring, some sort of validation from the outside that maybe we need to give to ourselves. Yeah. And then what that creates is a lot of noise where we don't even know anymore what's important or not. And we start lacking timing because we feel like if I have a need, I have to like now get it out immediately. Sometimes that happens in relationships. Actually, I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat in June. And I noticed after that how my timing in my relationship with how I communicate got so much better. Because I used to be like, when I had a certain need or something that I wanted to discuss with my partner, it was really hard for me to keep that in longer than 5 minutes. Which made it so, of course, that I would speak to him about these things in situations where he wasn't receptive at all.
And then would kind of get bigger because he would not react in the right way. And, yeah.
Exactly. But because what that triggers is the other person doesn't really listen. Yeah. And then you blame them, even though it's like, of course, you know, the other person needs to listen at some point. But if you choose a different time to communicate, that makes a big difference.
Yeah. That's such a great tip, I think, for our listeners as well.
Yeah.
To think about the moment. Yeah. And I can really relate to this with my husband. So, last question, to make not this episode too long. You also have a podcast.
I do.
I'm very curious also for our listeners to hear a bit why you created it and what is your kind of message with this podcast and how it's called, by the way.
Okay, so it's called The Sound of You, and you can find it on all big podcast platforms. I created it because I wanted to. That's just as simple as it is. It's something that's been on my mind for a while, and actually something that my clients and some people who are following me on social media were asking me at some point. Fedi, do you have a podcast? It's so nice to listen to you. I would definitely listen to it. And I always postponed it. I was like, nah, it's not the right time. It's too much work. And this year I'm like, no more waiting. We're doing it now. And it's so great. I've really found that this is my medium. I love it. And we talk about basically all things that we just spoke about. We talk about the voice. We talk about spirituality and personal growth and how all this is related. I recently had an interview guest. She is a coach and a dancer, and we were talking about how expressing yourself creatively, you know, be that dancing, singing, or even writing, drawing, cooking, how that can influence and change your whole life and also your relationships. So basically everything that I am interested in and that I would like to share, I gave myself a platform for that, hoping that it will be interesting for people to follow. Because it's my intention also to share different people, you know, not just the same people, and talk about things in combination with the voice and creativity is something that maybe you haven't heard in like 150,399 other podcasts people are.
Yeah, super nice, this topic. Yeah. I like the name also, the sound of you, because it's also the sound of you, because it's really what interests you, as you just said, it's really your, as you said, your platform.
So, yes. Yeah. And for me, actually, the sound of you, my coaching is also called the sound of you because I work with the voice, obviously, but also because the way a person expresses themselves, even if they're just walking down the street, in a way that's sound, because it's your frequency. It's what you emit outwards all the time.
Yeah, your vibration, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a completely interesting perspective on it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. So thanks so much for coming to my podcast, for sharing all of this. I'm blown away, and I think lots of the listeners will think I need to get to know Friederike better, because you're such an inspiring person and such a wise, now you don't see Friederike when you're listening to this, but she's such a shining, radiant person. So be sure that you also follow her on her other social media. I will put everything in the show notes, and then, we go further on our journey, and for sure we are crossing paths a lot, us too, because we have a lot of things in common.
Thank you so much. And it was so random, right? How did we first meet? It was a Facebook group or something? I was looking for an apartment.
I think it was the universe.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know, but it was very random. Yeah.
Yeah. Connecting our voices.
Yeah. So thanks so much, and have a great day. And let us know what you think. From this talk, if you had any questions, any thoughts, put that directly in a DM, to her or to me. By Instagram is a very good medium. Otherwise, Facebook as well. And it's really nice to start a conversation also about this kind of topics. That's why we are doing the podcast, to share and also receive and to create exchange.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.